Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Dynasty, back with another video. And I'm sitting here, I just finished my article speaking on transistors and why transistors are very vital to, electrical devices, right? They're very vital to sound in general, right? But other electrical devices outside of music, but they are used for music, right? So the article is pretty dope. I encourage you guys to go and read it. It's on medium.com. But I come to the realization of this, right? Software describes intent. Hardware enforces reality. Understand that, guys? So the intent of the software is basically like its intention is to tell, the coding what to do, or it tells basically the hardware what to do. But it's ultimately up to the hardware what actually happens. So basically, the software describes the intent, like, oh, compress at 4:1 ratio, right? But the hardware enforces the reality. So how good the hardware is on the output stage, the transistors and things of that nature, right? That forces the reality of the sound that you get out the back of your systems. Now, of course, we know the transistors are on the input stage and the output stage. And the transistors are before the converters, actually, and after the converters, right? So it's like analog to digital, right? Because analog is carrying an analog signal. So it's on the ends is analog transistors, which shape the sound before it turns into digital. That's why it's so vital that you have a great sound before it actually goes into the MPC. That's the whole ghost wave philosophy. That's like my whole thing, right? Getting the first original sound to sound amazing, right? So, and that brings you to my point. Great music isn't baked in the mix. It's not baked in the mix, guys. It's baked into the sound. So you have to get a great sound source at first and make sure your sound source has all of that goodness that, is baked into the sound source before you try to go and mix after the fact and try to put back or enhance the original sound source and make it, you perceive it to be that you're enhancing, or you're fixing the original sound source because it might come out thin or flat or whatever, and you're trying to put back some midtones or whatever. That's why you got to start with the first original sound and make that great. Don't try to mix it in. Don't try to bake it into the mix. Great music isn't built in a mix. It's baked in the sound, guys, from the very first instance that you start making your music. So, it converts and goes into the MPC. I'm just saying the MPC in general, right? We have a lot of different gear, right? But then the digital to analog conversion. So when you do on the out, when you push the outs and you drive the outs, that's going to shape the sound and the color of the sound. Now, the intent of the software, it describes like what it wants to do. But depending on the hardware on the ins and the outs is really going to shape your sound, guys. It's going to enforce the reality of what's actually happening with these devices. Now, digital and analog is a perfect match for today's modern music, right? Even though the hardware gear back in the days, it's pretty dope, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, we move past that. We're not here at Old Fight Dynasty, Ghost Wave music, Ghost Wave, the genre, okay? We're not afraid of technology and move forward. We're trying to understand it. We're trying to understand the systems, guys. How is digital and analog working? What is translating? What is reality of what's happening? What is my keyboard workstation really doing? Does my keyboard workstation work better if I leave it on a lot longer, so now the analog circuitry is getting a little warmer? Does my MPC work better if I leave it on a little bit longer? Does my preamp work better if I leave it on a little bit longer, rather than if I just turn it on and just start doing music right away? Like, just learning all this stuff can shape your sound Two people could have the same exact device and they get a totally different response from their machines depending on what's happening, the circuitry, etc., etc., etc. Maybe somebody built my MPC a little bit better than they built yours. Same model, same and working, same circuitry, but something might be off a little bit. We have to understand this, guys. We have to bring things back into reality. That's why you have to purchase with intent first. Your intention is to purchase with great intent. And when you get this gear, but then when you get the gear, you have to understand what is actually happening in it and what it's doing to your sound. So now you need to know, well, I don't need to do anything else because the sound source is already amazing. Or I need to elevate myself and help enhance what's coming out of my sound because it's coming out flat then, or it's not as warm, doesn't have a good mid-range, etc., etc., etc. So now you get preamps or things of that nature to make your sound do what it do. Otherwise, if your original sound source is great, well, guess what? You don't have to worry about buying extra gear. And that's the problem that people are running into when they're buying flat digital sequencers that give you like a clean sound, but they don't have that oomph into it. So when you buy an MPC first and you don't buy a keyboard workstation or something that gives you a great sound source first, that's why you run into a problem when you start making music using these VST plugins, I'm saying virtual instruments that are supposed to be a sound engine. When you start using that first to make your beats, it's not going to sound full because it's not designed to sound full. It's designed to sound like a plugin, like open end plugin. Basically, it gives you more space to maneuver and do things, but it's not like that real great tone. That's why starting with a keyboard workstation, that is like almost a finished sound already because it's coming in and that compared that and that with their coding to form this sound engine is already almost a completely baked sound. But then when you go out the back of it and it hits those transistors, and those transistors, depending on how you push this keyboard workstation, can add more color, can make it even fuller. And then going into maybe something else like another saturator or EQ, whatever, another analog device, not digital, analog device, can bring that sound to its complete stage the way that you want it, is the way you sound design. Otherwise, you don't even need to go into extra outboard gear. You can go straight from a keyboard workstation into your digital sampler and start chopping up and doing what you have to do, and then go out the back of it and then push it out the back. Hopefully, you got a good converter that translate and moves that sound cleanly. But then once it hits that analog, those transistors going out the back, it's going to do what it do. So you got to know this guy. And see, this is the reason why I'm studying this stuff, guys. So I don't fall victim to the copy and clone generation. I don't want to fall victim to people only worrying about the hype, oh, these machines do this and finger drumming and all that stuff. No, I want to know how sound moves. And so I could change my sound. And it's not a copy and clone of the next musical producer. I'm copying this person. I'm doing type beats, this beat, that beat, or I'm just doing the same exact style that you guys are doing. And that's why everybody sounds repetitive and boring, and the game is slowly dying. But Ghostwave is going to bring it back. Trust me on that. So let's go ahead and read this really quick. Why older gear feels different without myth. Older machines use fewer integrated circuits, relied on discrete transistor stages, had less aggressive noise suppression, tolerated saturation instead of preventing it. This created audible compression, the natural compression that comes from analog stages, right? Harmonic thickening, and dynamic integration with performance. Not magic, engineering trade-offs. The psychological layer, why this matters culturally. When companies stop discussing analog stages, transistors typology, signal path philosophy, and instead focus on screens, features, and marketing language, users lose the ability to elevate sound as a physical phenom or a physical phenomenon. This shifts the conversation from how does this device shape audio to how new does this feel? This is not by accident, guys. This is not by accident. Buttons won't save you, guys. Pressing a tactile button won't save you. Listening and watching other content creators that don't know music and not even studying transistors, they don't. These other content creators, they're not going to study this stuff. Then nobody's going to come to you with this information. Their minds is so focused on the propaganda and the showmanship and just being a content creator. They don't want to be musical producers. They don't want to be audio engineers. And technically, they go hand in hand. Musical producer and audio engineer, because you have to learn how to work that entire studio to get a great, timeless piece of music. You only have one life to live, guys. Why live it being fake? You know what I'm saying? You only have one life to live. Why be fake? If you only have one life to live, why be fake, guys? These people being fake every single day. If you can't see it, you're just gonna forever be blind. I saw somebody who basically made a video today or yesterday about the same topic that I made a video, and you could tell that they were stealing my points and trying to like not say my name. That's being fake. They're trying to always capitalize off of the new hot topic because I'm controlling the narrative on YouTube in February of 2026 in the music production community, especially the MPC XL, because you know I'm hitting them like 2-3 videos a day. So you know they all see it, but they being fake instead of being real. They need to get off of their butts, stop recording videos with these devices, and start studying audio engineering, music, technology. What is a transistor? I got a full article here on medium.com, guys. A full article, and you guys should go and read it. So I want you guys to pay attention, man. I got to my quotes, man. One life to live, why be fake? That's one of my quotes, right? You get this, right? Great music isn't built in a mix, it's shaped into the sound. That's my other quote. And my last quote is, software describes intent, hardware enforces reality. That's my last quote. Those are my 3 quotes for 005 Dynasty, okay? My 3 quotes. And why does that matter? Because one quote is about life and philosophy. One life to live, why be fake? The other one is about production philosophy. Great music isn't built in a mix. It's baked into the sound. And the last quote is technology. I'm saying a technological. I'm saying philosophy. Software describes intent. Hardware enforces reality. So I have a full stack. I have a full stack for my philosophy, guys. And I coined a genre. I coined a genre, but I also coined a generation. The copy and clone generation. From around like 2012 all the way to 2026, and Ghost Wave is going to be the genre that breaks us out of it. Ghost Wave, cinematic air hop, a sound that floats. And a cultural phenomenon. This your boy 005 Dynasty, man. Go check out the article. It's about transistors, sound, and control. And once you start reading this article, you'll understand sound a little bit more about the ins and the outs of each and every device, and why your first original sound choice is the most important, and not living off of the hype of what people are doing on the internet. Because you live off the hype what people do on the internet, you'll go buy an MPC first before buying a great sound source first. Think about that for a second. This your boy 005 Dynasty. Don't forget to Google me. And I catch you guys on the next one.